Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the Thursday night football game for the Panthers and Falcons tonight. Thursday night football. Not going to be that great of a game overall, but we're going to be talking some DraftKings single game showdown. If you haven't been here before, first of all, welcome in. But pretty much how I do things here for this stream, we're going to go over some of the inactives. We're going to go through DraftKings. We're going to talk prices, players, if I like them tonight or not, and then kind of build a couple lineups together. It's not going to be too exciting tonight because it's not that great of a game environment. There's expected to be pretty strong weather conditions as well with rain and wind in this game. So it might be a defensive game and one that favors running backs in general. So that's probably how I'm going to build most of my lineups. Probably going to be how a lot of people build their lineups tonight as well. But I think there is some advantages to be had with that at the same time. So it'd be a pretty interesting slate. Probably not one that I'm going to spend too much money on overall, though, just because a lot of variables, probably not going to be that great of a game overall, but sometimes those are the ones that end up being the most profitable as well. But we're just going to get started here with the inactives for tonight. So we have the Falcons side, Matt Dickerson, reserve defensive lineman. Don't really care about him for the Falcons. He's not even been active all season, I'm pretty sure. Anthony Ferkser, he's been inactive the last couple of weeks anyways. Felipe Franks, reserve tight end, not really too concerned about him. Eric Harris was one of their safeties that actually played a little bit earlier this year, kind of used all over the place, but really hasn't been involved as of late. Jonathan Harris is a guy that got elevated from the practice squad. We don't really care about him. Nate Landman was just a special teamer. And then AJ Terrell is kind of the big one here. He's obviously out again with his hamstring injury. So Falcons secondary probably not going to look too good tonight if they're able to throw the ball even in this potential rain and wind game. So that's one way to build to be a little bit different from everybody else, since everybody's probably going to be on defense and running backs. If you want to attack the passing game for the Panthers, that's definitely something in play. But just keep in mind, PJ Walker is starting tonight. He got benched the last game for Baker Mayfield, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happens once again tonight. So that's just another factor that you have to add into it. So I probably target more of the pass catchers than the quarterback in that situation, which is just a little bit interesting situation overall for DFS perspective. For the Carolina Panthers, they are without safety Justin Burris once again. Larnell Coleman, reserve offense lineman, don't really care about him. Sam Darnold was activated off IR, but he is not active for this game. So we got PJ Walker and Baker Mayfield in this one. Rashard Higgins is out. I believe he was dealing with an illness this week. And then Aaron Mosby, a reserve linebacker, special teamer. He's not playing tonight as well. So not really too much there to take away in terms of inactives tonight. Obviously, the biggest one overall is going to be AJ Terrell on the Falcons side. So we're going to go right over to DraftKings and talk about the pricing and the players for tonight's slate overall. So let me bring that up real quick. So we are going over to DraftKings. I like to look at the flex pricing since you play 5 guys in the flex spot and only 1 in the champion spot. So that is something to keep in mind. It's just easier to look at the regular pricing and then do the flex or do the champion pricing for your other spot overall. That's just the way I typically like to do it. Cordero Patterson's $11,800, which is actually a hefty price tag for him. He came back last week, played about 38% of the snaps, had, I believe, 2 touchdowns in that game. So he could be very involved in this game. He's going to be very popular overall as well. All the percentages that I will, excuse me. All the percentages I will list are the projected ownership according to runthesims.com. Not an official sponsor of my channel or anything else like that, but a site that I do like to reference in terms of projected ownership. And just keep in mind, these can vary depending on the size of the contest you're in, whether it's a single entry, a 20 max, a 150 max, a 3 max, a 5 max, whatever that is in your case. So if you're single entry or cash, the guys that are more popular in terms of projected ownership are probably going to show up more in the champion spot overall. If you're in 20 max, 150 max, there's probably going to be a little bit more variety as well. So Patterson's projected 17% in that champion spot tonight. Obviously, it's an interesting situation because he just did come back last week. How involved is he going to be? Obviously, he scored the 2 touchdowns that really boosted him out the last time. Marcus Mariota's $10,200. There's warrant for him tonight. How much time, or I should say, how many times are they actually going to throw the ball in this game? That is a good question to ask overall. But he does have that rushing factor as well, so he could run for some yards, still get you double-digit points, even if he only throws the ball like 12 times tonight. Get over to the quarterback situation for the Panthers. We got Baker Mayfield and PJ Walker, both $9,600. PJ Walker's getting the start, but he did get benched for Baker Mayfield last week. We'll see how it works out tonight. You could get some exposure to PJ Walker. He's 11% in that champion spot. Baker Mayfield 0% because he's obviously not starting. Excuse me. So personally, I'm not going to take too many shots on the Panthers quarterback. If you want to play PJ Walker, probably not going to play him in the champion spot because he's a little too chalky there. If you want to play him in the regular spot, I don't have a problem with that. If you're playing one of the pass catching options in the champion spot overall, DJ Moore is going to be pretty popular, $9,200, 15% projected in that champion spot as well. Obviously, he is the best wide receiver in this game, but you still have the weather factors, so we'll see how involved he is. But should see a wide variety of targets once again, and it's versus a very good matchup since the Falcons are last against the pass in terms of yards allowed so far this season. Then we have Terrace Marshall Jr. kind of having his little bit of a breakout now at this point in time, $8,400. Personally, I probably go to Drake London over Marshall, but that's me. Marshall is projected 3% in the champion spot. Drake London is projected 8%. So to each their own. If you want to play either one in the champion spot or the flex spot, you can always go ahead and do that. But as I mentioned, weather could be a big factor in this game overall. Let's see. Then we get down to Deonta Foreman. He's $7,800. He's been pretty good 2 out of the past 3 weeks. Last week, he only had a couple carries because they got behind so far in the game. And then it was kind of Raheem Blackshear that got the workload in the passing game. So that's something to keep in mind with Foreman. He's mainly just the runner, and Chuba Hubbard is back tonight, so that could affect him overall. Foreman is projected 9% in the champion spot. I'm probably going to be a little bit lighter on him tonight. I expect him to be pretty popular since this game has the weather conditions in play. Kyle Pitts is $7,000. I think that could be a potential value tonight. He is projected 15% in that champion spot. So maybe if you want to play him tonight, maybe you're better off paying him in the flex spot just to get a little bit different, but definitely could have some value tonight overall. It just depends, once again, how that passing game is going with these weather conditions. Tyler Algier is $6,200. He's not projected at all in the champion spot. When I went through, I'd put all my simulations in for tonight's game, the way that I think it might go, and kind of the way that the carries are split and everything. Algier actually came up 8% in that champion spot. So I'm getting to a little bit of him in the champion spot just to get over the field because he probably won't be too popular there. Him and Cordell Patterson, they pretty much split snaps last week. So there is a chance that could happen once again this week, and he could be a value at $6,200, especially if he gets in the end zone, since he is a guy that is very good very good around the goal line. Excuse me. Then we get down to Chuba Hubbard. He's $5,800. Obviously, he's coming back off his ankle injury. But before he got hurt, he was kind of the lead back, and then Foreman took over because he got hurt. So I wouldn't be surprised if this turns out being a split backfield. Have some interest in him tonight. He is only 1% projected in that champion spot, so there is some leverage to be gained there if he ends up playing pretty well in that spot. Olamide Zaccheaus is $5,400. He's in play. He's probably going to be more of a flex spot. He came up 1.3% in that champion spot in my model. In the projected model, he's at 0% tonight. So there could be some leverage there, but with the passing game being what it is tonight, it's probably not going to be too likely. Falcons defense, $5,200 is quite a bit for a defense that really isn't that great overall, but there could be some turnovers on the Carolina end with PJ Walker, Baker Mayfield, whoever ends up playing most of this game at quarterback. So there is that potential there. At $5,200, am I chasing it tonight? Not really, but you got the sloppy weather conditions, so I wouldn't be surprised if they end up being a decent play, at least in the flex spot. They're projected 1% in the projected ownership, and they came up 3% in my model for the champion spot. Raheem Blackshear, $5,000 is a little bit too much for him. He has been the pass catching back, but before Chuba Hubbard got hurt, he was kind of the pass catching back. So probably not going to go to Blackshear this week personally myself. Caleb Huntley, $4,800, just the third back for Atlanta. And honestly, he's really not that good. And I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but he's just kind of a plugger, a jugger, plotter, whatever you want to call it. Just a guy that's there. He'll get you a couple yards on carries. He can eat some carries up, but he's not anything special. So $4,800 is a lot to pay up for a guy like that. Damiere Byrd, I have maybe a little bit of interest in. So his snaps have been going up in recent games. He's $4,400. Probably not a lot of people are playing him tonight. Probably not a lot of people are going to play him, especially in the rain too, but he's a guy with some speed. If he gets long, if he gets a deep touchdown or something, he could definitely pay off. But I wish he was a little bit cheaper at the same time. Younghoe Koo and Eddie Pinheiro, they're two kickers, $4,200 and $4,000 respectively. Younghoe Koo, I would expect to be a little bit more popular. Both of them were projected, I believe, 27% in the flex spot when I was looking earlier today. But at the same time, you have to remember weather conditions tonight. The field is going to be wet. There's going to be wind. It's going to be a little bit harder to kick for most of the game as well. So you can play them at your own risk, but don't be too surprised if they have a very difficult time kicking in this game. Panthers defense at $3,800 definitely have some interest in. Obviously, they are the cheaper defense tonight, and with the weather conditions, could be pretty favorable for them. The Atlanta Falcons offensive line, not the best in the world, and they have some injuries there as well. Shi Smith, the slot wide receiver, he's $3,600, and that's a lot for a guy that really hasn't done anything at all this season. He's going to get a lot of snaps, but he doesn't really do much in terms of scoring points, catching the ball, or anything else like that. So if you want to go there, you can go there just to be different, but I don't think it's going to pan out tonight. Same thing you could almost say with Laviska Shenault at $3,000. I'd probably rather go down to him, even though he hasn't been getting as many snaps as Shi Smith, but that is something to be said. Tommy Tremble is $3,200. He'd be the one that I'd be most interested in out of that group. Playing some more snaps at tight end. He's obviously an athletic tight end overall. Sometimes he pays off, but most of the time he's probably not going to at the same time. Ian Thomas, not super involved. He's $2,000, not interested there. Kaderil Hodge is $1,400, mainly a blocker, a wide receiver, so not really too interested in him. Spencer Brown, I believe, was not elevated from the practice squad this week since Chuba Hubbard's back, so we're not going to worry about him. We get down to Mikael Pruitt, who is $600. He's one of the three tight ends tonight for the Falcons. He could always be in line to catch a touchdown. Last year when Julian and I did a lot of these single game showdown slates on the point after, he was kind of one of our favorite guys because he's always real cheap. He's kind of an athletic tight end. He has a chance to score a touchdown. So don't mind going to him as a punt play overall. Brian Edwards is active tonight. It looks like he's $200 punt play. Not too interested there. Sean Sullivan type of thing. Let's see if there's anybody else that sticks out down here. Probably the last guy would be Parker Hesse at $200. He plays a decent amount of snaps at tight end, but he's mainly the blocker in this case. He's had a couple games, or maybe just one game this year where he actually did something. So we got 1.9 points, 1.9 points, 3.2 points. Actually, he really hasn't done much of anything this year. So you're lucky if you get a catch out of him. He had one catch for 22 yards. If you really want to do that at $200 punt play, you could go there. Mainly you're just hoping he catches like a 1-yard touchdown, but not too interested there overall as well. So that's kind of where I'm at this point in time. If anybody has any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll answer them as quickly as possible. But it's kind of a yucky slate overall. I think personally, we're going to get into some builds, and I'm probably going to start with like builds that are going to be more popular for cash tonight, I would say. So I think the ones that are going to be more popular are going to play like a Marcus Mariota and like a Cordell Patterson. I'm going to put Mariota in the champion spot. We're going to play Cordell Patterson. I think we're going to play Kyle Pitts in this situation. I don't think you need to play either of the quarterbacks for the Panthers. You could play DJ Moore here. You have $6,700 left over in that case. Or you could take him out and you could play Deontay Foreman because I'm pretty sure he's going to be very chalky tonight. So then you get down to what do you want to do with the rest of the money? So you want to play, let's see who stands out here. A lot of times in cash, you'll end up playing a kicker. So we got Younghoe Koo, he's $3,900. You could play the Panthers defense, but since we have Mariota in the champion spot and Kyle Pitts and kind of everything there, it's probably not going to be the best for cash. So I'm probably going down to like a Tommy Tremble or somebody like that. Not sure I love that build for cash personally. Maybe we'll go with the Kyle Pitts build in the champion spot just because he is pretty popular too. So we can play him. We can play Mariota. We can pretty much do everything we just did and have a little bit more money left over and make it a little bit smoother when we do that. So, excuse me. I'm trying to find Younghoe Koo once again. And now we could go like the DJ Moore. And actually, you could play both kickers in this build if you really wanted to. Or if we played somebody else instead of DJ Moore, then we could pay up for somebody else as well. So this is a potential cash build tonight. This is really not a game that I want to touch too much for cash overall. But I think you're going to see a lot of different builds tonight. And for me personally, I like playing the running backs. I think you're going to see Foreman in that champion spot quite a bit tonight. We could do one with him real quick. Maybe play both defenses as well. So we're going to play the Panthers. I think we're going to play the Falcons at the same time too. So if you're going for the rainy conditions and all that stuff, then this is going to look pretty good. We're probably going to play both like lead running backs in this situation with Deontay Foreman and Cordell Patterson, and then both defenses. And then like we have this money left over, so we could go like a Marcus Mariota and a Kyle Pitts here if that's something we want to do, because Mariota can still run and the weather conditions won't kill him completely. We could do a DJ Moore, and then we could do like a Drake London or a Kyle Pitts. We could do something like that. A couple different options there. Personally, I like getting different tonight. I like playing Tyler Algier in that champion spot. We're going to play both defenses at the same time. We're probably going to leave some money on the table tonight as well. I think it's a great game for that if you're playing into the whole weather factor. Let's see. So we got both defenses as well as Tyler Algier. And like I said, Tyler Algier is not going to be popular in that champion spot tonight. And this is GPP builds at the same time what we're building here. I think you could still play Marcus Mariota. You could still play Cordell Patterson even. And then you could play like a DJ Moore if that's something you want to do. That's one way to go about it. Or we can take some off, have like Marcus Mariota still. We could still play like a Kyle Pitts. And then we could do, like a Deontay Foreman, a DJ Moore, and just leave money on the table too. So that's one way to do it tonight. And you're going to have a lot of money available tonight because most people, or at least me personally, I'm not touching this Panthers quarterback situation. I might build like a line even where Baker Mayfield's in one of the flex spots just because why not? I'm like PJ Walker got benched last week. Why can't it happen again this week? It definitely could. So if you want to play DJ Moore in the champion spot, we could play like Marcus Mariota. We could still play like a Kyle Pitts, Drake London, people like that. Then you could get down to one of these other running backs. Maybe we do a Chuba Hubbard and we got $3,600 left over. And then you get down in this range once again. That's one way to do it. There's lots of different ways that you can approach GPP. Probably get just a little bit creative tonight overall because it's not that pretty of a game overall. And honestly, like there's not too much interest in there. So if anybody has any specific questions for tonight, feel free to ask them. I know there are some people that like to tune in that play on FanDuel as well. So I'm going to get my sheet up for over there and just kind of go through that real quick as well, just because it's not a super exciting slate, honestly. So I'm going to load that up. I am also double checking basketball stuff. So if anybody's in here that listens to my core pick daily videos for NBA DFS, be sure to let me know that as well. We're still waiting on some news for the Portland Trailblazers tonight in terms of Jeremy Grant and Joseph Nurkic for NBA at least. And I'm just waiting for this to load for the FanDuel side. So FanDuel side, we have Marcus Mariota at $17,000. He is in play, but he's definitely expensive tonight. Cordell Patterson's $14,000. He's in play, but he's expensive. DJ Moore, $12,000 is definitely in play. Drake London, $10,500, not too bad. Deontay Foreman's $11,000. Chuba Hubbard's $10,000. They're a lot closer in price when it comes down to it on the FanDuel side. So I probably maybe just slip down to Hubbard if I could most of the time. Tyler Algier's $10,000 as well. Falcons DST is $10,000. Panthers is $9,000. I wouldn't be afraid of going to both defenses over there. Younghoe Koo at kicker is $9,500. Pinheiro is $9,000. Terrace Marshall's $9,000 as well. Kyle Pitts is $8,500 off FanDuel, so I think he's a really good value tonight overall. Tommy Tremble's $7,000. It's a really condensed slate on the FanDuel side, a lot more than on DraftKings. Personally, I'd be playing some Patterson. I'd slip in some Foreman, some Hubbard, some Algier there, some DJ Moore, maybe a little bit Terrence Marshall, some of the defenses, and Kyle Pitts, and just kind of mix and match them and go from there. Maybe Marcus Mariota and a couple lines overall, but I'm not really touching the Panthers quarterback situation once again. So that's kind of a quick little rundown on FanDuel. For DraftKings, as I mentioned, pretty straightforward tonight. Most of the lineups probably are going to be built around this weather. I'm going to see if I can look up this weather once again. So we're going to do Panthers game weather. Because I believe the last time I looked, it was between 8 and 11 o'clock is when it was supposed to get kind of worse tonight. So let's see if we can get this pulled up. That is not helping me. Stadium forecast. I'm going to share this tab instead while we're at it. So this is the weather for tonight's game. It is somewhere in here. This is not the best looking one overall. Tonight, showers likely, and then storms and thunderstorms possible after 11. Patchy fog. Let's see. So it's not as bad as it was supposed to be, at least. Sounds like mainly rain. The wind gust earlier today, they were expecting up to 26 miles per hour. Right now, it's wind gust as high as 18, but sustained winds kind of around 10 to 11 miles per hour. So that's kind of interesting overall. So nothing too crazy there tonight. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward, but it still could have a pretty good effect on this game overall. So maybe we'll build a lineup real quick where we think it's more of a regular game, or I did one with Mariota in the champion spot. Let's see. Let's do one with Drake London just because we really haven't talked about him too much. We're going to play him. We're going to play Mariota. We can still play Kyle Pitts in this line too. I like getting to Tyler Algier for doing that in this case. If we're doing a 5-1 onslaught, then maybe we do Younghoe Koo or we do the Falcons defense. I think we'll do the Falcons defense in this situation just to be a little bit different. $9,100. That kind of sucks because you can't have DJ Moore. You could do Terrace Marshall or Deonta Foreman in that case. Probably Foreman, honestly. But if we go back and we do Younghoe Koo, then we could do DJ Moore as well. Let me go back there real quick. We got Damiere Byrd there too. I think we can slip him into a lineup too eventually here. That could be very interesting overall. But once again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. Not too much to say about tonight's slate overall. It's probably one that I'm not going to spend a bunch of money on overall. Probably just play light. There's 2 free contests tonight on DraftKings as well, so just make sure you're going down there to find them if you haven't done so already. But that's pretty straightforward. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that we can really get leverage on tonight, because just going through once again, Mariota's at 20% projected, came up about 13% in my model. Patterson's 17% projected. He came up 13% in my simulation. Drake London's at 8%. He came up at 8% in my simulation as well. Kyle Pitts was at 15%. He came up half of that for me. Definitely could pay off tonight, but there is some risk there as well in that champion spot. Falcons defense was at 1%, and they came up 3% in the simulation. And then PJ Walker was at 11. He came up 8.6%. But you do have some risk there if him getting benched if he doesn't play well. Foreman was at 9%. He was about 9% for me as well. Chuba Hubbard was 1%, but he came up 2.6% in the champion spot for me. DJ Moore was at 15%, came up about 11% of the time for me. And then Terrace Marshall was at 3%, came up about 4%. And then Panthers DST was 0% projected, but came up just under 2% for me. Tyler Algier was the big winner for me. He comes up 8%. So that's 8% leverage part. Younghoe Koo's at 1.7 and Olamide Zaccheaus was 1.3 for me. The total projected aggregate ownership when you go by us on Run the Sims was 61% to the Falcons and 39% to the Panthers. Typically, when there's a decent sized split between there, I try to go on the lower end side. So the Panther side in this case, where can we get leverage there? Chuba Hubbard's a good one if he gets very involved tonight. Maybe it's Terrace Marshall. Maybe it's Tommy Tremble. Maybe it's somebody we don't even know yet. But sometimes I like attacking that when it's a little bit weighed one way than the other. So that's just something I personally like to do. And it's worked out pretty well so far this year, but that is definitely something that's more for GPPs than like a cash game setting or a single entry or anything like that. Let's see. So if anybody's paying attention for NBA tonight, we have, looks like Keon Johnson's out now so Keon Johnson's out for the Blazers and Joseph Nurkic and Shaedon Sharpe. So it's a pretty interesting slate for the Blazers. They're going to have some value overall for tonight. But once again, if you guys have any questions regarding this NFL single game showdown slate, be sure to let me know. I'm going to hang around for a couple more minutes and I'm just going to tinker with some NBA lineups. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and then I'll get back to you as quick as possible. So I'm messing around with NBA once again. So that lineup's pretty set. But crazy 4-game slate for NBA. But this, it's kind of interesting because that's so crazy. And then the slate for NFL tonight is actually pretty dry and boring, which the game is probably not going to be pretty dry, but the slate itself is a little boring. Let me see real quick here. I swear to God, it said he wasn't playing. Let's see. So if anyone, once again, if anyone has any questions regarding this NFL single game slate, I know it's not the most exciting one in the world, but you'll have that from time to time. So definitely an interesting slate, but not one that's super exciting for us tonight, unfortunately. And that's kind of one of those Thursday night games. It does happen from time to time, unfortunately. So that's pretty much all we got for tonight. Once again, if you have any questions between now and the time of lock, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and I'll answer any questions that you do have. Or if you have any general DFS questions throughout the week or fantasy football questions, feel free to reach out to me there as well or down in the comments. Tomorrow, my NFL DFS core pick video for week number 10 will be coming out, where I go over the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defense that I like for this week. Also, be sure to check out my daily Also, be sure to check out my weekly cheat sheets for both DraftKings and FanDuel over at WeBetATS.com, where I go through the high price guys I like, the medium priced, and the lower priced ones for the week overall for NFL DFS for the main slate. So definitely be sure to check that out as well. But once again, I do appreciate everybody that did tune in for this broadcast, and hopefully you will check out some future ones as well. If you haven't already, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Turn on the notifications so you never miss any of these live streams or any of the other content that I do put out, whether it's the daily NBA DFS videos, the weekly NFL DFS videos, or these live streams overall.